Hey guys, welcome to the I Hope to Hear This podcast. Today I have with me good friends John Yoon and Joojin Kim, and we hang out a lot. We do accountability with each other once a week in the mornings, and we talk about what that kind of looks like for us. And we just dive into the topic of being fathers as Christians in the modern world, and some of the struggles, some of the thoughts that we have around the topic. It's kind of a free-flowing conversation, so it is what it is. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy.
Talking about like illegal stuff right now.
Yeah.
Breast milk, black market.
Talk about all of it.
Yeah.
All of this is admissible in court.
Have you tried breast milk, David?
No. Have you?
Oh, yeah, we were just talking about, yeah.
Oh, you've tried it too?
Yeah.
Ew.
Oh, you never tried it?
He's like, John, I expected, but you? Night. This is great.
What time do your kids go to bed?
Anywhere from like 8:30 to 10 o'clock.
Oh. Do they all usually go to bed around the same time?
Yeah, they all go to bed at the same time.
Yeah.
Even your son?
Kind of. Yeah, so like we tell the girls to get ready and then we start putting our son to sleep. But he takes 2 naps during the day.
Oh, okay.
So to kick off this podcast, I want to go back to the conversation about having tried breast milk. I'm a little bit shocked. So first of all, to the listeners, also I don't know if the mic's catching it, but I think my kids are having a meltdown outside. So Shirley, thank you. You are the VIP for handling all that. Anyways, also, if you're listening to this on Spotify, the video is going to go up there automatically now. So you can kind of go back and forth from video to just audio or video, however you want to digest. Cool. So make sure to check it out on Spotify. Also, so this is Joojin. Joojin, say hello.
Hello.
You've been on the podcast before. We talked about how Joe changed your life. Mm-hmm. And then we have Pastor John here. Hello.
Hello.
Is this your third time on the podcast?
I think it's my second.
Oh.
And Lydia's been on it twice, I think.
Right.
So now we're tied.
Right. You gotta come on one more time.
Now I know you like us equally. We're waiting to see who gets the third invitation.
Oh, snap. Unless I have you guys on at the same time. Oh, that's the only solution, really. So, yeah, thank you guys for being on. But again, back to the breast milk thing. So you've both tried breast milk? Like your wife's breast milk?
Yeah.
You did?
Is
That's
that
so weird?
Yeah, is that a weird thing? I thought it was kind of...
You know, it'd be kind of interesting. You should take a poll.
Oh,
Yeah.
you know,
For the dads.
hey, Spotify also allows me to take polls on the
Wow.
actual thing. So I'm going to
That's
add it
crazy.
there. I'm going to add a poll on Spotify. If you're a dad listening, please come vote.
Please don't
yeah,
vote if you're not a dad.
Yes.
I just wanna.
It would be
see
weird
that
if you're
raw
not a dad and you
statistic.
had breast milk.
Yeah.
Not as an infant.
But I
Not
don't
when
want.
you were
I
an
don't want the
infant.
stats to get
As
all
an
watered
adult,
down
yeah.
by like people that are like, of course I haven't
Yeah.
tried breast milk. But
True.
yeah, it's because
Oh, that's true, yeah.
you're not married to someone producing it.
I wonder if Joe has.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the he's the missing piece of our quartet.
We
if
can
you
take
will.
bets right now.
I
feel like
bet you he has.
I feel like he would say no.
I think he has.
I think
You
he would
think?
say no.
just
I think
He's a man. If there's even a moment of curiosity, feel like he has to satiate it.
this is
So you, David, were never even curious? It was just like, you didn't even like wonder about like,
I find it akin to like, yeah, I'm curious what poop tastes like, but I don't think
I am not curious what
poop tastes like. No, like intellectually.
Have you ever wondered what poop tastes like?
Intellectually, what does the substance taste like? But I've never had the desire to test it out. Like if someone has eaten poop before, I would be like, okay, tell me what it tastes like. But I myself am not curious enough to try it for myself. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, but you were curious to even begin with, but not about breast milk?
I mean, with breast milk, I'm curious.
Okay.
Intellectually.
So like equally as poop.
Yeah, like intellectually, I'm curious what but like I find no desire to try it for myself. Yeah, because I don't know. It's kind
Well,
of
you should, David.
hey does
You should.
does drinking breast milk fall into the category of cannibalism?
No.
No,
I don't think so.
It is being
think
produced
so.
by the human body.
No. But it's like normal because
But-
the babies drink it for nourishment.
Yeah.
If it's
It's not like a human body part. It's just produced by.
What about fingernails? Is that a human body part?
That's cannibalism.
Is that cannibalism?
it's just gross.
Yeah. No,
I
but
can't imagine eating a fingernail. I've like bitten them and like chewed them and spat them out. I haven't ever.
But I wasn't even intellectually curious about
Yeah.
such a.
I'm positive I've either me or my wife has eaten a fingernail. Early on in our marriage, Shirley was preparing food, and then like a whole chunk of her fingernail like came off. And I think it's either she thought that it was on the cutting board still, or like we're just like, oh, whatever about it. But we finished the whole thing, and it never like came up. So one of us ate it.
So one of you is a cannibal.
Oh yeah. No, it doesn't make a difference. So, okay. Anyways, kind of getting back to the point. What does breast milk taste like?
It's like light sweet milk. It's like
Yeah.
milk with. It's like a watery milk, but
Yeah.
a
Like
hint of sweetness.
fat-free milk, right? Like
Like
the blue cap.
like like skim milk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is
But
is that
it-
skim milk?
yeah,
Is
yeah.
0%?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then a hint of sweetness.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's weird because I was open to trying it. I did, but Angie she would not.
Yeah, because it's weird.
Did your wife try her own breast milk?
That's a great question. I'm sure she has. But I might be completely wrong. I might be misrepresenting my wife here, but
Okay,
I'm pretty sure she has.
I'll add a second poll for mothers. If you wanna, if you've tried your own breast milk, please vote so we can tell. We can see if it's a
Nah.
normal thing or not. Yeah. But yeah, we're here just talking about fatherhood. Like I said, the missing part of our what do you call it when it's four people? Not a duo, trio.
Quartet.
Is that quartet?
Yeah, and then quintet's 5.
But isn't that like specific to a musical group?
Oh, are we not a musical group?
I don't know. Is it?
Because duo, trio, quadro, I feel like it should be like it should end in a 0. Oh, I mean it should end in the O.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That
Just
you
the
have
prefix?
a case there.
Right? Quartet.
Quado.
I don't know.
Because
Anyways,
it's not a duo, it's a duet, right?
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Anyhow, Joe, he couldn't make it. But kind of sad that he's not here because this gathering kind of started with him. It started with at first it was me, Joe, and Joojin, and then Pastor John joined later. But this is kind of a. Do we call ourselves like a dad group? We're not really specifically a dad group. We're just a group that happens to be all dads, and we kind of we meet like once a week in the morning, right at Starbucks, and we kind of what do we do? Keep each other accountable. Is that what it is?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's
Just do life together?
Doing life together,
Yeah.
sharing life, sharing struggles, and
That's right. Yeah, yeah. Encouraging each other.
encouraging each other.
Yeah, praying for each other.
Rebuking each other.
Yeah.
Edifying one another.
Oh gosh, that sounds so much.
We're just being amazing Christian men.
But sometimes you just vent
Yeah.
Why'd you have to add that?
in a non-gossipy way as possible.
Oh, this is true. Yeah, this is true. Do you ever? I mean, because it's I don't know if we've ever explicitly stated it, but it's like we're not like sharing the information that we get from each other to other people. You know, it is a safe space. Do you guys tell your secrets to your wives though? I mean, when we say it's like, oh, please don't share this with anyone else, does that include your wife for you?
Oh, I see.
I don't know if we've ever talked about something like that,
Like crazy?
like where we would have to explicitly say like, oh, do not share this outside of this group.
Yeah.
Because usually if it's like something for us to like pray for, I feel like it's okay that me and Angie as husband and wife can pray together
Yeah.
for that specific thing.
Yeah. But there are certain things. I'm going to be very careful not to accidentally say anything right now, but like in regards to like, venting about church, there can be some sensitive information that gets shared that we kind of we kind of implicitly know, like, oh, we probably shouldn't be like tweeting this out to the
Oh
world.
yeah, of course.
Right. But does that include? Do you tell your wives those things, or?
I usually layer on a filter and then just kind of provide a high level stuff, because she usually asks like, how was morning, man? What'd you guys talk about? Because usually like the way I walk in the door in the morning, like I'm usually kind of in a good mood, and then she's curious like, oh, what'd you guys talk about? Or sometimes when I feel like when you guys were challenging me about like writing a letter to my dad, who I don't have a good relationship with, I would walk in a little bit more like sunken.
Yeah.
So she was like, oh, what'd you guys talk about?
Yeah.
So she can kind of tell usually, I think, just depending on my mood.
So you kind of share.
Yeah, so I do share like, oh yeah, we talked about this, we talked about that, but like if I think it's something that I deem to be sensitive, then I try to filter some of it.
I see. What about you, Pastor John?
I mean, yeah, I don't go home thinking like, oh, I can't wait to share all of this with my wife. I'm glad I took notes, But if she asks, I tell her. Or if something interesting happened, I'd probably tell her.
Yeah.
But it's also knowing she doesn't then turn around and tell everyone else either, right? Like even our secrets are like our trust is sacred too. So
Right.
But then also I think just hanging out with other married people in the social circle, it's just like, I think I always assume the husband and wife be one unit.
Yeah.
So if I tell the husband one thing, the wife is gonna know,
Yeah.
and vice versa.
I tell Shirley everything.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I assume.
Yeah, I assume that
Yeah.
you guys will talk about it.
Okay.
So if it's something that I really, really don't any other females to know, including my friends' wives, then I think I would not talk about it at all. Like knowing that you guys are free to share that with your wives,
right.
if I was to say it out loud.
Maybe we should do this. Maybe we should just say like explicitly, hey, like I would prefer if you didn't share this with your wives. Like if I get that,
Oh, no.
disclaimer, then I definitely won't share with Shirley.
Yeah.
So
Well, it depends. I think it depends. Sometimes when people say that to me, the first thing I do is I think to myself, like, is it necessary for me to know? And then then carry the burden of not being able to tell Lydia.
this is true.
And so sometimes I'd be like, hey, I'd rather you just not tell me,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Right.
I don't really need to know, or something like that. Unless it was like them like unloading something, right? And they needed, like, it felt like I needed to do that for them. Then like, yeah, I'm willing to take that burden. But I will try not to pick up unnecessary like burdens of hiddenness.
Yeah.
And I feel like I don't want to keep a secret, whether it's like a benign secret or not,
Right.
like from my own wife.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm glad to know that, because I kind of operate under the same assumption. Like if I'm telling a married man, I'm assuming the wife is gonna know, and I tell Shirley everything too. So, I'm glad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So yeah. To kind of round out what it is that our group does is we share a lot of things. We try to keep each other accountable. Yeah. With the thing that Joojin mentioned with his father, I mean, stuff like that. We like kind of encourage each other, like, maybe you should try this. Even the things that like individually we feel like, I really don't want to do that. If the rest of the group thinks, like it might be good for you, like we'll challenge and kind of push each other to do those things.
I think one of the also good examples in the past was I came to Joe and David to vent about this like conflict I had with Angie, and in my mind I just wanted to like let them know, and I wanted to hear, oh, Joojin, you were right.
Yeah.
She was wrong. and I wanted that validation, like the selfishness in me. So I told the guys the story, basically like, what happened was like we had dinner at a Chinese restaurant, and then we had a ton of leftovers, and then so we accidentally forgot that in the car, and so it was sitting in the garage in like 90 plus degree heat.
Yeah, that's the
like
best.
overnight. And then the next morning, as we're going off to drop off the kids, we're like, oh my gosh, we left the Chinese food in the car. I was like, so immediately I was like, oh, we need to toss that. Somebody's gonna get food poisoning if we eat it. But Angie insisted that, oh, it's so 아까워 to 버려. Like it's so wasteful. We can eat it for lunch. We can both eat it for lunch. And I was like, no. And then I like got upset. Like, how could you even think to eat that? That needs to go in the trash. And then I just like raised my voice, and I got upset at it. And then she got upset that I like raised my voice and all that. And then I think it was like the following morning I met up with these guys, and I was like, hey, so this happened, and I was like, I'm so right? And then they were like, well, logically, yes, you should not be eating food that's been sitting in 90-degree garage for 12 hours, but you could have said it more lovingly. And I was like, I don't want to hear that right now.
I'm leaving.
I don't want to hear that right now. But at the same time, it made me like really stop and think.
Yeah.
Like, oh shoot,
That's good.
I guess the delivery could have been better. You know, I did not use a loving tone, and so I like went back to her and I like said sorry, and then
Wow.
so yeah, that was like a really good example of them like rebuking me and challenging me to be better. Even though selfishly, I just wanted their validation and just kind of
Right.
like the bros saying like, oh yeah, you're right, man.
Right.
Your wife was wrong, but
Yeah, Angie, if you're listening, you're welcome.
but yeah, I appreciated that they weren't afraid to like call me out on that at 6 a.m. in the morning.
That's
you
good.
know?
Yeah, that's right. That's another thing. I think the time we meet is usually at 6 a.m. in the morning. I think it works out just logistically because
Yeah.
you never have plans at 6 in the morning. So you're usually, we just kind of pick a day. If that day works, then 6 a.m. is going to work. And I think there's something about that time where like you have just woken up, like you haven't really done anything, where I don't know. I feel like we're more open. We're not dragged down by the grind of the day yet. So we're kind of just like fresh to share,
Yeah.
fresh to kind of walk together. So I think yeah,
That is nice.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice to like see you guys first thing.
Yeah.
You know? And then the coffee and all that helps too.
Yeah.
It's also like a very intentional time to meet. So you're not going there thinking like, oh, whatever, I'm just gonna breeze over this and come back home.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, because no one's gonna wake up at like 5:30 to go do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's not just me, Joe, and John like dunking on Joojin. I don't want listeners to get that impression. I mean, like, yeah, there are things that we share, and they, give us counsel. So yeah, I think for me the something that I kind of take away a lot is like for Joojin, you do like so much of the housework as a father, like in your house, like cleaning, cooking, and all that. And that does challenge me a lot. Like there is still remnants of that like Korean dad patriarchy thing where it's like the father's role is to just make the money and come home and relax while the mom takes care of the house, right? And it's funny because whenever my mom sees me doing like my mom will like come watch the kids sometimes, or like just come and like bring us food or something, and whenever she sees me like vacuuming or like doing 설거지, like doing the dishes and stuff, she'll say 요즘 남편하기 힘들구나. Like, man, the modern husband must be like so hard, like to do, because for her it's like, yeah, your father, I mean, my dad like never really did any of the housework, so like I see you guys, and like the way that Joe talks about like intentionally doing things for his wife and things like that. Like, yeah, those things, like I won't like say it in the moment, but like that stays with me for the rest of the day, and probably the rest of the week. And I'm like, oh yeah, like these guys are out here doing this too. Like I should try to do the same for my wife, and I think there is that kind of, just in the sharing, we're encouraging each other. Yeah, so it's a really valuable time to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same here. I'm new, but I love it. Like
Yeah.
it's been a really good constant that I have in my life. It's a good like anchoring point. I love it. I really do. And meeting new people, getting to know new folks is always fun too.
Yeah. Yeah. So really the bulk, I guess the main reason I wanted to invite you guys over was, I guess, talk about the meeting that we do. And anyone listening, if you guys are fathers out there, and you don't really have a group of men to really walk with, I would really recommend it. Find a group where you guys can carve out some time and intentionally do something like this. Really, like, we have no agenda. It's not like we do a devotional or anything. We literally, we just come. So how was your week? Like, what were the things that you did? Like, how can we encourage you? What is something you can do better? Like, we'll just kind of ask like simple questions like that. So, if you guys want to take that and do it too, highly encourage it. I think we all can attest. It's been very helpful and refreshing, right? But I did want to talk about the main topic of today. Was going to be fatherhood. As Christians, how is it?
Very broad.
Yeah, no, it's because, well, you know what? I'm gonna just. I was telling Shirley before. I'm just gonna ask a lot of just hot take questions. That might be incendiary, but I don't know. I feel like
that's fine.
Yeah, it might be valuable. Like
what?
Like, do mothers deserve all the recognition they get, and do fathers get the short end of the stick?
Jeez, this interview is over.
I mean, I think mothers and fathers, they both deserve the praise in their own respective ways.
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe this is the echo chamber of my social media, but it's just mothers are more encouraged. There's more like, oh, mothers, you're not failing. You're doing the best you can. That's all.
I think the difference of how churches celebrate Mother's Day and Father's Day, the difference is
Yeah.
quite big.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so
Actually, on that, my pastor, Pastor Charles, he straight up said, "Oh, we ran out of budget for Father's Day. Like for Mother's Day, he got like these like nice little like customized tote bags and like stuff like that. I think
so
for
funny.
Father's Day we got nothing. It was just straight up, oh, Father's Day, thank you guys, fathers, but
That
all the
is so
monument to your
Yeah.
wives."
I mean, I'm not like bagging on them or anything, but I just think it's funny that like on Mother's Day we have like at our church we have like a whole photo booth, flower bouquets that gets pinned, like custom made cupcakes for them and stuff. And Father's Day, I think we got like Costco cookies.
Oh, it's a special day today? I can't speak from other people's perspectives. For us, Lydia's been like a stay-at-home mom, right? And so I will say from my experience observing Lydia, I think mothers do need to be celebrated like that. And the reason is because for guys, we never lose touch with our identity or like what gives us our identity, right? Like the rhythm doesn't change when we get a child, when our wives are pregnant, right? Or when they give birth or when they're recovering. Like we work and then we come home, we work and we come home. And there's still that value tied to our work and to what we bring home, providing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But then and I'm not saying that dads shouldn't provide, relationship and all of those things. I think all the more we need to try to do those things as well. But for a mom, like, you're basically home all day just keeping a human alive. And that's not easy, right? Like, I can't imagine not having a normal conversation with an adult besides like my spouse for like weeks on end, right? Or days on end at least, or whatever that looks like cleaning and turning around to clean something else and turning back around to see a mess again, right? Or like, I know with Lydia, especially because my kids are so picky, and we've probably had fights about that too, but she cooks like 3 different meals every meal, right? Or she used to.
And you have 4 kids, by the way.
And I have 4 kids, right? And so a lot of Lydia's day, especially early on, it would feel like it goes by just cooking, cleaning, changing diapers, right? And so then like I can only imagine from an observational point of view, like what that does to challenge someone's identity and like worth, right? And sense of value. And so, yeah, I feel like they do need to be honored and celebrated more intentionally than dads, right? And then I also feel like dads are less like, when like they're not celebrated that way. They're just like, okay, like I would like to just be left alone. That's cool. You know, like that's good enough for me.
So then that's a question then. Then for Joojin, do you feel that way? Like when you're not celebrated, does that affect you in any way?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, it's nice to be celebrated, but like if I'm not celebrated, I'm not like, oh boohoo, but I don't know if it's a personal thing, but or like a man thing, but I don't like being the center of attention. So like even like birthdays and stuff, like when they sing happy birthday, like I hate that.
Yeah.
So like when it's like Father's Day or birthday or whatever day is involved to celebrate me, I'm just like pretty nonchalant about it.
Because as I'm hearing this, something that kind of came to mind for me is, yeah, like I think, yeah, like the whole identity thing makes sense, but I feel like, and please feel free to rebuke me if you feel like this is off base, but you know, so much of that identity shift is a celebration of motherhood. You know what I mean? Like, as you are like taking care of these like babies, you come into your identity more because there's like physical changes that happen, and even the response from the babies to the mother. I mean, let's be honest, a lot of the times it's different. True. You know, like I mean, my kids, they would rather spend, like if they had to spend the whole day with one parent, 10 times out of 10 it's going to be with Shirley and not me. You know what I mean? They really only spend time with me when they're forced to. It's never a choice, you know? So because of those things already kind of inherently celebrating the mothers, like there is a part of me that thinks, man, like I wish then at least there was something outside of the family unit that does celebrate the dads too, to make up for this lack within the household. Does that make sense, what I'm saying? You can't relate? Your kids love you guys?
I can see where you're coming from. For me, like, yeah, for sure, there's a desire as a dad to be celebrated in some sense. For me specifically, I think that looks like, and I think this has a lot to do with my upbringing. So my upbringing, like, doesn't matter what you're doing at home when, like, dad comes home and when mom comes home, like, you stop what you're doing, you, like, run to the front door and you greet them. You acknowledge them, right?
Yeah, I grew up like that, too.
Yeah. So that was, like, the normal grid for me. But then there's, like, my children, right? Who, like, I can come home, cook myself a meal, take a shower, come back downstairs, and they'll be like, oh, when did you get home? You know, like, and so there is that, like, oh, I wish, even if, like, they came to the door, like, oh, daddy, right? Like, picture perfect, like, the whole herd, like, running toward me, and, like, giving me a hug, welcoming me home, like, oh, your presence was missed and is appreciated in this moment. Like, sure, that would be very nice. I love that, again, my oldest daughter, she's 11, and she's developing a lot more of, like, the nunchi about this kind of stuff. And so she's able to pick those kinds of things up. And so she tries to make an effort to, like, say hi to me and say bye to me and things like that. Like, I've shared with you guys a little bit.
That's right.
Even that requires, like, a little bit of adjustment for me, though, right?
Right.
And so, yeah, I think I understand where you're coming from, but at the same time, like, is it okay, as fathers, is it really a reward for our kids to rather spend all day with us and for us to have to spend all day with them? versus like escaping to work or like, you know, like doing stuff around the house or paying the bills or like whatever it is, you know, like is it really like a reward to be able to just spend all day with the kids?
No, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, like, I would rather them not cry when it's like, oh, you have to spend all day with daddy. You know
Oh,
what I
they
mean?
cry. Okay.
Oh, I mean, no. So,
But then, okay, like, I
Stop
see what,
abusing them, David.
I see where you're coming from, but again, I think I'm trying to play devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
But like, think about it this way: let's say Shirley was right now gathering with all her mom friends and having a podcast while you are putting the kids to bed, reading them good, nighttime stories, giving them a bath and whatever. And the following day, who do you think the kids would want to hang out with? Like, the person that they spent all evening with the night prior and then read good night stories and snuggled with, or like the parent that was just locked up in or like closed behind doors hanging out with
Right.
her friends.
Right.
So like, I don't think it's like, I don't think it's fair to say like, oh, the kids just prefer Shirley all the time. Well, maybe because we're not like making our efforts to spend time with them. And I sometimes I feel that way too. Like, oh, like Lucas, they always prefer my son always prefers Oma, so he can go to bed with her.
Right.
And then so once like that ball starts rolling, that's gonna keep happening. And like, oh, like yeah, he likes doing that with Oma,
Right.
so he does that. And then, I'm afraid that if that keeps going for years on end, by the time he's like an adult, like of course he's gonna have a stronger relationship with his mom than
Right.
me. And then the thing that I feared the most is like now happening because I never took that effort to take that
Right.
from Angie. And
Yeah.
so
Well,
no,
no, go ahead.
Because I was gonna say like the mothers have a natural advantage, especially if they breastfeed.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's so much bonding that happens during that time period. I think, like honestly, because like as you were saying that, like the incident I'm thinking about, Shirley recently for her birthday, she took like a day trip to Orlando with her friends. So she left at like 3 in the morning, and then
Day trip.
yeah, they found like crazy cheap flights on Spirit. So, yeah. So they flew, and then they came back like after the bedtime. So like the kids, the whole day didn't see her, but it was literally the whole day. When's mom coming back? When's mom coming back? Like
Yeah.
we're doing all these things together. Okay, this is fun, but when's mom coming back?
Yep.
You know, like so it had the whole day. It had to be when you go to sleep,
Yeah.
mommy's gonna be here. Like so, like I even if. And I don't know if this. I mean, honestly, these days, like Shirley's been really busy at work, so there are some days where I interact with the kids more. But I mean, in the aggregate, I wouldn't say that I spend more time with them. But but even if it was 50-50, or we had like, I still think the mothers would get the preference. Simply for the fact that they're mothers.
I agree. I think there
that's true.
is like a biological aspect to it.
Right. That's
Like
true.
a biological, psychological. But like to play that devil's advocate to your devil's advocate, right? Like our kids, even as they get older and as they develop differently, their preference for the parents do change.
Yeah.
Right here and there. And so it's probably not just spending time with them kind of thing. But
No,
I
I
mean,
agree.
like, so Lydia's most recent trip was Israel. She went to Israel
That's
for a
right.
week. I took all 4 kids, right?
Oh Lord.
That was both the fastest and longest week of my life, probably to date.
Wow.
But it took, especially Zion, my youngest. He's when she went, he was probably just over a year old. It took him a while to adjust to me, right? Like sleeping with me, waking up in the middle of the night and it being me.
Right.
Like literally the first night he woke up and I had to give him his milk, and I like go to get his milk, and he's like saying no to me, and I'm like, bro, you have no choice. Like, you want this or not? You know? Like, but he got used to it to the point where like it was easy. I was like almost mom, right by like day 4 or 5. But then like as soon as mom gets home, all that goes out the
Yeah.
window, right?
Yeah.
Like, and then I'm just me again.
Right. Yeah.
And so there definitely is that aspect
Yeah.
to like mom.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I agree, like the feeling of being the more loved one.
Right.
But then I also would argue, like, if I was the more loved one, that also means like I'm the more frequently demanded one.
Right.
I'm the one they're always looking for. Like, I can't just get a moment of peace, right? Like, even this, like, we're having a podcast. Who knows how long this is going to be? And then who knows how much longer I'm going to pretend it is. You know, I'm just kidding. But, like, I can freely be here and just enjoy my time here with you guys.
True.
With Lydia, that took a while.
Yeah.
Like, because there was a guilt, like an unwarranted guilt, right? But there was still a guilt, like, when I leave, John is suffering, right? Because the kids are suffering.
Yeah.
And so, like, it took her time to just go and enjoy something.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm sure there are times I didn't help either. Like, she comes back, I, like, throw the kids at her, and I'm like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm going to bed, or I'm going to work, or
Right.
do whatever.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a great question.
Yeah, I see both points. I think. No, I guess I see your point more now, because I think the climate of the culture influences a lot of what I perceive and think about, and the climate of the culture right now is trying to empower moms, and I see the validity in that. I think that's really important. Yes, celebrate moms. Moms are amazing. Shirley is amazing. I don't know if you guys can hear her. She's giving a bath to both my kids right now. Yeah, all moms are great. But as fathers, I was just wondering, are there times where we feel a little bit overlooked, a little bit underappreciated?
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. 100%. 100%. Yeah.
Let's talk about that. In what ways do we feel most underappreciated? Or Joojin, do you feel underappreciated?
I don't think underappreciated. I feel they're appropriately appreciated. Because, I mean, even just, like, if you think about, like, the pregnancy and what the moms have to go through, like, I can't imagine doing that. Like, growing a whole human in my body and, like, giving birth. Because, like, I don't know if you guys, like, sat there and actually saw everything happening. But, like, it's crazy. It's crazy stuff. And the stuff that the woman's body has to go through to, like, give birth is, like, I don't think I could go through that. Like, I thank the Lord that I was created a man.
Absolutely.
Because I don't think I could go through that.
Yeah.
And, like, just on the pregnancy and the labor and delivery alone, yeah, definitely, like, moms deserve the highest praise. But, like, I mean, yeah, do we deserve, you know, an applause here and there for hanging out with the kids and, like, cooking meals here and there? I mean, I just feel like, to me, that's like the basic minimum that I should be doing as a father. Because, like, you know, we're like co-parents. It's not like she's the primary parent. I'm like a secondary parent. Like, we're equally parents to these kids.
I don't want Lydia to listen to this podcast.
So, like,
Lydia,
I mean,
just stop here.
Yeah. Personally, I just feel like all the cooking that I do, all the stuff I do around the house, like, feels like that's the minimum that should be required of me as a dad.
Yeah. And this is what I was talking about earlier. Like, you hear these things. Oh yeah, it should it encourages me to want to do more around the house. Yeah. But I can label this episode. I hope Lydia doesn't hear that.
But I think it also comes down to my upbringing. Like, my dad was, like, hardcore Korean ajashi. Just every time, you know, comes from work, just reads the newspaper until dinner's ready. He eats dinner when the dinner's ready, and then once he's done, he just goes off and read newspaper again, and my mom does all the cleaning afterwards. And, like, seeing that growing up, for me, it just had a kind of the complete opposite effect, where when I told myself, when I become a dad or father and a husband, that is not how I want to, like, be a father.
Yeah.
Like, I want to help. Like, I don't want my wife to do everything. I don't want my wife to cook, clean, do the laundry and everything. So, like, for me, it kind of had the opposite effect of, like, that is the one thing that I do not want to become. And I basically did everything opposite of what my dad did
Wow.
to become like who I am today. So like, yeah, when it comes to like cooking, like I cook breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then like for the most part laundry, I also do most of the laundry and folding and stuff. And I feel like that's kind of the minimum that I feel like I should be doing. Cause yeah, I just don't want to see. I want my kids to grow up seeing that the dads can also partake in the home building and just kind of the day to day chores and stuff. Yeah.
But don't you wish like there were things that encouraged you in those things? You know what I mean? Like you see like reels and TikToks of like mothers like, oh mother, you're not failing. You're doing the best you can, and that's all anyone can ask of you. You're amazing, right? But then you don't, and I guess maybe the norm is that fathers don't do all the things that you just described, so therefore they don't need that encouragement. But wouldn't it be nice, like, if we had like this community that we have amongst ourselves, right? Of fathers like being able to kind of talk to each other, encourage each other, and vent and stuff. I wonder if the climate of the culture allows for that to be the norm. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's definitely the norm for mothers to encourage, and I'm sorry if I'm being too hot takey here.
No,
but
absolutely.
like I don't know. Like there is I feel like in my soul there is a lamenting of space for fathers who are doing it right. Like, I'm not talking about the fathers who are like, you know, like just, oh, like, I'm not gonna touch the dishes, I'm not gonna do any of that, you know, like the fathers who are like doing their best and trying to help carry the load wherever they can. I wonder if there is space for those type of fathers to, yeah, you know, enjoy some of the appreciation, enjoy the encouragement from others, and enjoy some of the world thing, like the embrace of the world, if you will.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to be cultural. Or I don't think that time's coming anytime soon. If we're going to be like super hot takey, right? I think most people will say like, oh, fathers had their day. Right? Like, how could you even think about that when mothers have been oppressed in the home with no voice and no whatever for centuries or generations or whatever you would, right? And I think the issue with society, the reason I don't see it happening is because everything has to be polarized. It can't just be taken as is. And so if one person needs to be celebrated, then the other needs to almost like be punished, right? Like it's not enough to just celebrate moms now that they haven't been being celebrated for so long. Now, like, you have to like hate dads for doing that to moms or like whatever you would, right? Like there is this thing in society these days that I think that like unjustly or unnecessarily demands apology for something that person didn't necessarily do.
Right.
And we've seen it in race. We've seen it with gender, I think. We've seen it with a lot of different kind of like categories, if you would.
Yeah, I guess I'm just tired of being like the middle children of history. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's like, yeah, I totally like. If this were like our father's generation, I think they have no right to be talking about what we're talking about. Like, yeah, you guys did it the way that you did it, and it was, you got the appropriate amount of praise, or maybe you were even overpraised, right? But like us, as I feel like, I don't know if this is like a Korean American thing or whatever it may be. Like, I see a marked difference of the amount of effort that fathers put into the home in this generation compared to the generation before us, right? And that being the case, it would be nice for there to be more of a rallying cry of support for the people who are trying to do it right, who are trying to do it better, at least. And my observation is that, like you're saying, we are kind of paying the price of the faults of our fathers. The sins of our fathers have, like literally, the sins of our fathers are dampening us. And I do feel bad for people out there who don't have community, who kind of just do it on their own, like fathers, and like they feel like they're doing their best, right? They're like, oh man, I'm putting in all this effort into like spending time with my kids, trying to help my wife out and everything, but I feel like society is telling me that either it's not enough, or no matter what I do, it's not going to be like important enough to like talk about or celebrate.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree, and I think it's, again, we can't look at the world and expect it to operate the way it ought to, in my opinion. As Christians, right? I think, I do think it is like an agenda of the kingdom of darkness to almost devalue fatherhood. I mean, that's how you when you go after the family, you're going to go after the fathers, you're going to go after the mothers, right? And I just feel like what you're saying would be very nice, but I don't expect it, if that makes sense. So I do agree with you, but I don't think we'll ever see a day like that come. Maybe we need to all go to a Berean community church for Father's Day next year.
right? And
maybe they're gonna have a really nice celebration pushed forth by one of their elders. You know, like fathers need celebrating, double the budget from Mother's Day celebrations.
oh my gosh, that would be awesome. Gift like custom made like axes.
I was literally thinking axes. Yeah, it's so funny.
Yeah, and you know, this is really just a thought experiment. I'm not saying that. I would hate for someone to listen to this and say, "Oh, these guys hate the celebration of mothers." No, like, I think there's room to celebrate both. But it's just, yeah.
I think that's what the best way to put it. It doesn't have to take away from one to like do the other really well. You can do both really well if you want to.
Yeah. Any thoughts on that, Joojin?
No, I agree. Yeah, but I think one thought that popped into my head as you were talking about, you know, it would be nice for the world to celebrate, like culture and society to celebrate. Like in my mind, I'm like, would I care for that, or is the celebration for my spouse and kids alone sufficient? And like I don't know, personally, again, I kind of going back to like I don't like being the center of attention kind of thing. Like I think if my wife feels loved, and you know that I'm a good partner, like that's great. And if my kids feel loved and you know they're being fed food every day, like and they feel loved by their own father, and that I am present in their lives, I think that's sufficient for me personally.
So, let me put it into a kind of relatable personal terms. Like, so you know the illustration you gave about the Chinese food incident that happened. Like, what if that day you told me and Joe about it? What if we were just like, yeah, that happened because you're a bad dad. Like, you're just a bad father and a bad husband, and that's like that's why that happened. Like, and you know, like that's not exactly what's happening in society, but like there to some people, kind of more in tune with, or not in tune.
It'd be like, of course you would do that. You're the dad,
right?
You know, or like,
just like something like harsher like that, like. Over time, wouldn't that like? That would be like
I guess, but I mean, again, this is. I'm not trying to like be a smartass or anything, but it's like, aren't we all messed up and broken anyways? So like, why? Like,
Okay. So genuine question. You're mind blowing to me right now. So then, like you're saying it's okay, like just my wife and my children feeling like I love them and support them is enough. Right? But
I think it should be.
But what if how do they show you that they feel that?
I mean that they love me and they tell me that and show me that.
Right, but isn't that the appreciation then?
Yeah. So I'm saying, the appreciation from my spouse and my kids alone, for me, I think
It's
should be
sufficient.
sufficient as
Okay.
opposed to having this Father's
Culture
Day
to it.
extravaganza. Like on Father's Day, fathers get free meals everywhere. Like I don't
Yeah.
like I don't know. I just feel like that's not
Yeah.
what
I
I
would like free meals.
No, I'm gonna go on the record and say anything free given to me.
I would like free meals.
No, but no, I get your point, Joojin, for sure. Yeah, there is. I think, yeah, I definitely if it was a and or no, if it was a either or situation, like only mothers could be celebrated or only fathers can be celebrated, in that world, yeah, I want to give it to my wife for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in terms of the appreciation thing, I do agree. Getting it from my family is enough. But there is something about like just culture in general where there's like this kind of like osmosis effect a little bit of like what's happening in the culture over time can kind of reflect in the behavior of my family and vice versa. You know what I mean? So like yeah, I think it would be nice to have both because that would yeah like yeah, it's for sure. Primary is my family. If they love and appreciate me, that's great. But if the world can get recognition for some of the fathers out there that might not get that from their family, I think that would be also nice. But I do think you're yeah. I was kind of mind blown too just now by what you said because I think that is really admirable to
Yes.
to kind of just be like, "Oh, what
You
the
are a
fuck?"
good man.
Yeah, better husband than us.
Yes, for sure.
no. I'm
Yeah.
just a simpleton.
Yeah, no, yeah. I think I'm learning a lot in this conversation and just putting a lot out there. Yeah. So do you guys have a favorite kid?
I mean, I have phases. Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you're
Yeah. Like I love
committed?
them, but sometimes I don't like them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So there are days where you're kind of like, oh, I want to play with this one, but I don't really want.
Oh
to play
yeah,
with
yeah.
this
We're always like, oh, I'm gonna put Lucas to bed, or I'm gonna put Ellie to bed. Like, just depending on how they've been behaving between 5 p.m. and 8 p.m.
Do you have a favorite?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah.
They're old enough to listen. And
I know. So I won't reveal who it is. Although I'm sure they can put pieces together. But
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
I mean, again, that I don't think that means I don't think that necessarily detracts from everyone else.
For sure.
It doesn't mean like, yes, I have a favorite child and I hate every other
Right.
Yeah.
kid, you
right.
know? But at the same time, like, yes, I have a human heart and I feel like because I'm human, there is a different response to different personalities or
Yeah.
different I don't know, like traits, right?
Yeah.
So for sure.
Yeah, but yeah, and that's I think that's the hard part about I think as a parent, one of the hardest things is I wish the kids understood that just because my behavior might reflect a preference of one versus the other, like I wish that wouldn't detract from the fact that like I still love them. You know? I would say that actually I have to wait for Kaylin to start talking. Then I think I can really pick a favorite. But I mean, there are days for sure where I'm like, oh, like she's being so bratty, or this one's doing this, and so I'll there's a preference there. But it's like when I think about that, I know immediately if I show a preference towards one of them, the other one is automatically gonna be like, oh, what's wrong with me? That like even if the baseline is like, I love you guys all 100%.
That's not just you internalizing that, like you've seen that, you've observed it, or
Yeah. It's because it's like, hey, I bought you guys both toys, but this one said specifically that you wanted this, so I got this one, and the other one would be like, oh, I want that one too. But it's like, well, like you still got a toy. It's not that I didn't get you a toy. It's not like I took a toy away from you and then gave it to the other child you both received love. The other one received it slightly differently. So what is the issue? You know what I mean? So whenever there's a difference, like the baseline automatically goes to 0, and then all that matters is that difference.
Yeah.
So the toy thing is a very like simplistic
It's human nature.
example, but yeah. What are they laughing about?
Yeah,
But
see, if I was putting my kids to sleep, they wouldn't be laughing like that. Moms are great. Moms are great.
yeah. So I mean, do you ever feel like because of that it makes it a little difficult to be like human fathers?
I don't think I experienced that maybe like as strongly as you do. For me, it's more internal. Like it's more just like the enjoyment is a little higher, right? And of course, there's phases too, right? Like if Zion was my favorite, no one would complain about that because right now Zion is everyone's favorite.
Yeah.
He's so cute.
Cute tiny baby. Yeah.
He like flooded the house yesterday or 2 days ago because he's finally learned to push the button, the dispensing button on our water filter. So we have to like lock it now. But like, you know, if any of our other kids did that, it'd be bad.
Yeah.
But it was Zion, you know? And so like, I don't know. I think...
You don't think like Maya sees that and wonders the next time she gets like scolded for flooding the house, like why did...
So she doesn't, but I think only because she loves Zion so much too. Yeah. And so I guess that's the biggest difference. Yeah, and your kids are a little young.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's hard for them to see beyond themselves right now. But I think, you know, like kids like Addie, Dasa, they're older. And so even if I have to prefer a different child for whatever reason in that moment, like they understand that a lot better now than they probably would have when they were little. Yeah. And so it is a little different for me, I guess. Like I do have favorites, but what that just means is like in those seasons, I just enjoy that child a little bit more than but it doesn't mean I don't enjoy the others. Yeah.
Kids, if you're grown up and listening to this, I hope you understand that just because you perceive a difference doesn't mean that, you know, we're hating on you because the difference favors your sibling. Yeah. And any thoughts? Do your kids, Joojin, do they like, exhibit any of that behavior?
I don't think so. I mean, they certainly have their favorites, so why can't I?
This is true.
That's fair.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. So I hang out. The one that's my favorite is usually the one that favors me. Because like, you know, like today I was trying to brush Lucas's teeth, and he's like, "Go away, Appa." I was like, "All right then, fine. I'll go brush Ellie's teeth." And then Ellie was fine with it. So you know, at that moment, like Ellie was my favorite, because he's literally telling me to go away. So like, well, what am I gonna do?
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. I like it. Yeah, it's their decision.
But that's not to say like, my love for them ever diminishes during those times. Like, I love them both equally, but differently. But it just kind of comes in phases. Yeah. Sometimes I equally love them both. Like, I equally prefer to hang out with both. But that's also when they also both prefer me or something, you know?
Yeah. It's hard. Yeah, I can only imagine if there were more than two. Like, because if there's two, usually if one of them is favored or preferred, the other parent can love a little bit extra on the unfavored one, right? But John, in your case, there's always going to be two that are like missing out.
I don't know, but you can always think of it as like, well, if one child is favored, at least the other three can just take consolation in one another.
They can wallow in their unfavoredness together.
Team up against the one favorite.
The favorite. Literally, like Joseph and his brothers. Throw him in a ditch, you know, rip the robe. You know?
Oh, gosh.
Wow. So much wisdom.
You can take that to the bank. One thing that we at Morning Men, is that what we call ourselves?
It is on my Google Calendar.
Yeah.
I changed mine too. I like that.
Morning Men. Yeah. What was the other one? There was like
아침 아저씨s.
아침 아저씨s.
Disciple dads.
There was like sunrise sons. Yeah. There was like but anyways, in our meeting, one thing that comes up a lot is actually like going to the gym and working out. For you guys, I don't think we've explicitly talked about it. For you guys, what is the value in kind of being in shape as your part of your duty as your father, like related to that?
I mean, for me, it's just that I want to live as long as possible to be with them for as long as possible. Because like Ellie, she's like now these days, like she's like saying things like, "Oh, I want to live with you forever, and I want you to be with me forever." And like obviously, like that's not gonna happen. But like I would like to extend my time on Earth as long as possible to do that, and to see my grandkids, and to see Ellie grow up, find a man, and get married, and all that. But not only that, like for me, I just want to have the energy and the strength and the stamina just to like be there for them at night. Because oftentimes after work, after cooking and cleaning and whatever, it's just like I just want to veg, but then like I don't want to be like on my phone when the kids are still awake, because I feel like that's like the modern version of a dad being on the newspaper, right? And so I don't want to have them grow up having that image of just me on the couch, just like vegging on my phone,
right?
So just being able to like have that energy and the stamina just to like horseplay with them or like whatever. That's has been my main motivator. Obviously, it's like the physical looks is not like my primary goal. Like I'm already married. I have 2 kids. I don't need to I feel like I don't need to impress anybody. So like, but it's just I mean, it would be nice if I had like a 6-pack, right? But like the primary goal of me working out is so that I could just be healthy, live a long life, and just be present for the kids.
You know what's funny? My primary goal is to look better.
And you do. And you do, David.
But I will, just to make it sound not as bad as it does, it's because I want my wife to,
I mean, that's a side bonus for me.
I'm surprised you're not wearing a tank top right now.
I was before. When it was just for my wife. No, I want Shirley to like know like, oh, like I'm worth working out for. Like to my husband, I'm worth like trying to like keep a certain level of physique to But so for me, like the side benefit is more energy to play with the kids and all that. But I think like, because we talk about this a lot too, right? Like not just our roles as fathers, but our roles as husbands. Are we leading our household well? Are we making ourselves like worthy of being the lead to our wives and our kids?
That's fair.
Yeah, and no. So, but I'm not saying that your reasoning is bad or anything, but it was just funny because it's like opposite for us.
I mean, it's funny. Nice that like when I do work out, I was like, okay, okay, but that's just a nice little added bonus for me personally. But also like just working out, having that good rhythm, like ideally prevents you from getting sick, because if you get sick, then your spouse has to kind of do double duty and like puts a burden on her, and it's not fun for anyone if any of the parents get sick. So just trying to be on top of that.
I think I'm somewhere in the middle of you guys. I don't care to live a long life, because even if I did, it wouldn't be with my kids, right?
That's
like
true.
they're gonna have their own families, and
that's so sad.
I mean, like, of course, I want to see my grandkids and things like that. It is sad to think about that. Like this, like literally, this is the time we have, right? I really don't want to live very long.
That's true. I don't either.
As like morbid as that sounds, like I don't want to get to the point where I can't take care of myself, right?
Yeah, I agree.
But at the same time, like the energy level I can have with my children now is different, right? And so You know, even like way back when I was working out with you and Joe,
Oh,
and
that's right.
before that, I hadn't worked out in a long time. That was when it was like, man, like I can go play at the playground with my kids and not be tired and not want to veg out, right, and things like that. Ironically, the other reason I want to do it is so that I get injured less, but I just kept getting injured more, right, which sucks, like, because it is a thing. When you get married and you get hurt, like no one feels bad for you. Like you get in trouble for getting hurt, right?
Yeah.
Like our friend David broke his ankle.
I just heard about that the other
And
day.
so literally when I saw Blair,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, Blair, tell me the truth. Were you like worried? And she's like, I was so mad. I was like, of course you were. I'm like,
Was he
"Okay."
playing like basketball?
And you had every right to softball.
Yeah. Shout outs to Blair. The When I Grow Up podcast.
When I Grow Up podcast,
Yeah.
yes. But yeah, and then there's also now the element of like wanting to take care of my body for Lydia, right? Because so when I was younger, like that's all I cared about. Like all I cared about was what my body looked like and aesthetics and all that. And then like after I got like delivered from that, I think I went completely the wrong way. You know, and I just didn't care anymore. And I was like, I'm accepted the way I am, like whatever. And then like I let myself get to this. And so like it's so much harder to work your way back, right? But then like you have to.
Yeah.
And I think there's like a lot of stewardship that takes place for your kids, for your wife, but also like before the Lord, right? Like, and that's something Joe talks about a lot too. Like, this is the body the Lord gave me, right? Like, I will master it.
Yeah.
And I think that's right. And so, just like, because every excuse not to, there's like not ever really a good reason not to, right? It's like very selfish or very lazy or whatever it is. And so like when there's no good reason not to, then you probably should do it.
Yeah. And you know, there is something about when it becomes when the reasoning is too singularly focused, it can kind of go bad. Because example is recently I forget what it was. It was something about like me and Shirley were talking about like who was gonna put the kids to bed or something like that, because like she was really busy with like work stuff. Like she brought home work and she was gonna have to work. But I said something like, oh shoot, I have to go finish up work because like something came in late. So I was like, hey, I'm gonna go downstairs work for like an hour. And then she was like, didn't you go work out today?
Yeah.
Like during the day, right? So like there was this like, because my like kind of focus was like I'm doing this to try to impress my wife. There was this, man, like I went to go work out for you kind of thing that like in the moment I was like, ugh, but I had to kind of work through that.
Are you not entertained?
Obviously not. No. So I'm worried people are flocking to watch the video on this, thinking that I'm some sort of like big. No, it's just compared. It's relative to what I was before. I do think I am a little bit bulkier than what I was before. So this should just show you how scrawny I was. So please don't watch the video and roast me. But anyways,
because he's not wearing a tank top.
But I think it's like there needs to be a balance of like why I'm doing this, and like kind of the wrong motivations or too singularly focused on one thing kind of can derail a little bit. But it's working out is great. Anyone listening who's not working out, you should go work out. It's are you guys okay to talk a little bit longer?
I'm fine.
Okay. Sorry, it's almost 10.
Are we meeting tomorrow morning?
We are meeting at 6 tomorrow morning.
Yes.
So last question, because something I wanted to talk about, like working out is kind of like something big we talk about, and something that always kind of comes up is like our distraction with technology, and we're kind of always like challenging each other to like rip ourselves away from our phones and kind of be in the moment with our kids, right? Have you guys felt any sort of difference as we kind of more intentionally try to do those things, or has it been kind of the same? Like I wish Joe was here because he had the most like transformative thing. Like what he did is he actually put all his charging cables in his closet so that he can just put it away and like literally like shut the door and separate himself from it. But like Joojin, I know for a little bit you were also like doing that.
I mean, for me, Joe, when Joe kind of presented that challenge to himself, I also took it upon myself to kind of attempt that, because there are times when I would always think like, oh man, I'm on my phone too much, especially when the kids were awake. And so I think once Joe kind of shared that, what he was doing, maybe for like solid several weeks, maybe 3-4 weeks, I would also, like when the kids are home, I just made sure to put my phone away. Like I kept it at my office, which is upstairs, and then while the kids are downstairs, I was just like with the kids. Even if I wasn't like actively playing with them, I was at least just kind of observing them play, as opposed to just kind of being on my phone. And I mean, personally, I thought it was like really great while it lasted, and unfortunately, it didn't become like a baked into habit, just because like, you know, smartphones, like it's just so hard to get away with it. Even outside of like social media and like whatever, like our home alarm system, you know, checking the weather in the morning, like Slack messages from work, everything's like on the phone. So even if you're like not necessarily doing mindless scrolling, even if you're like being productive, you're still like glued to the phone. And so it's kind of been on and off. Like sometimes I do like have to make the active conscious decision, like, okay, you know, the kids are home, so I gotta put my phone away. And I tried that, but I still try to be very mindful of it, but it hasn't been as clean of a cut away from it like that first couple weeks. But yeah, I think it's something that I still need to actively remind myself like not to do. You
know, one thing that like shocked me the other day is Kaylin, my second daughter, she's gonna turn 2 in like September, so she's almost 2. But I was using my wife's phone because my wife was driving and I was like looking up directions for her or something, and she started freaking out, like, oh my god, like basically like that's mom's, and she was freaking out because I was using on like her phone and not my own phone. So like she continued to freak out until I gave the phone back to Shirley. So like there's something in her mind that has made this like,
wow,
there's such a like that
attachment.
Yeah, like this is something really important for mom, and like this thing, and then like when she sees my phone kind of like laying around and I'm not near it, she'll like pick it up and bring it to me.
Yeah, my
I've
kids do
seen
that too.
That's so cute,
Yeah.
but also so dangerous.
Yeah, and so it's like, oh man, like what are we doing to our kids in terms of like perception?
Yeah.
Because like we're at the very least we're teaching them that cell phones are very important, right? And that it should be with you
like,
at all time, you know. So like that really kind of like, oh my gosh, like that freaked me out. So I'm not as successful at it as Joe is, but I too have been trying to kind of keep the phone away. Like one thing I did, and this was more actually for just like to spend time with my wife. Like when I'm in the passenger seat, I put my phone away. Like I put it in my bag, or like unless I'm like looking up directions or something, I try to keep my phone away so that I'm not like she's driving and I'm just kind of like scrolling. So there are things like that like I've been doing to try to keep the phone away from the person myself as much as possible. But yeah, it's like it's an unprecedented issue, right? Because this is like our kids are the first generation that are witnessing their parents with smartphones.
Yeah.
So I wonder what it is we're doing to them. Like,
Yeah.
Do you guys ever get concerned about that?
Oh yeah, definitely concerned. Yeah.
For sure. I mean, even just like, so even for me, I suck at that. I suck at just putting the phone down, right? Like even if I do it, there are so many times I'm just like, man, I want to take a picture of this,
Right.
or like I want to record this or whatever, and then I get it and I do. But even that I'm torn, right? Because it's like we are that generation where when my kids recall, right, when they have like memories of me, a lot of times it's not gonna be my face that they remember, right? It's gonna be like what phone case I have,
Yeah.
or whatever the case is, and yeah, for me, I don't know. Again, like even like being a pastor, right, is somewhat of a cop out, right? It's like I always want to be accessible. I always want to be able to, this and that. But so I have been fit. I've wanted to try, and I've tried so many times in the past. I have to find a better way, I think. I mean, like, yeah, sure, I can just lock it up in my closet. I'm not saying that's the easier way. I think that's way harder.
Yeah.
But I also like, okay, how do I control myself, but also have like pictures and videos of my kids for keepsake, right?
Yeah.
And things like that. And so this week, actually, I have on, is today Wednesday?
Yes.
It is. Okay, so Thursday. That's right. So Thursdays are usually my days when I get on like my Notion, and then I like plan out the week and like get all my tasks in order, things like that. And so I wanted to tomorrow, I'm gonna do it tomorrow regardless. At least schedule like an hour and a half, 2 hours a day, whatever that looks like. Where okay, so just for these 2 hours, the phone's gonna be away. I'm gonna be with my kids. Like if there are good pictures that I miss, like oh well, and just like at least be able to give 2 hours, right? Because if I can't do that, then I have to like seriously reconsider my life values and like myself as a human being, And so like that's a little experiment that I'm gonna try, and then see what comes of that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. It's there is we're doing something to our kids. Yeah, and it's probably not good. As you were saying that, it reminded me of like I wrote like a little blog post about this when AZ was first born, and like Shirley was sleeping and I was like holding AZ because she was like crying, and then like we kind of like locked eyes, and it was like a really like beautiful moment, and I was like, oh, I want to get my phone and like take a picture of it.
Yeah.
But then I was like, oh wait, like I want this moment to last just between me and Aisley, and just in this time. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want, I'm selfish. I don't want this to get,
Right. Yeah.
and I remember I titled that blog post, ours alone. Like I wanted the moment to be ours alone. Right. And yeah, like I want to, like I want to go back to that. I want to go back to finding moments where like I want it to be just us, not shared with the ever listening ears of our smartphone, or like the ever looking eyes of those cameras. I think in part of the discipline that we're trying to cultivate in each other, I think I'm glad that one of the focuses is on not being slaves to the smartphone. Yeah.
And like realistically, you look at like your camera roll. It's like you have 9,000 of the same picture.
Yeah.
Right. And like, and one of the things I've been trying to do more intentionally is like record longer videos. Not just like, oh look, this is cute, 10-second clip, like 10-second clip, but like actual home videos of like, what is dad recording right now? But just like, okay, it's the time to record, and because for us, like, our parents didn't grow up with smartphones, but I think they were able to capture and preserve enough, right? Like that was more than enough. And so like, what does that look like? How do I rewire my mind from like instinctively like, oh, I want to take a picture of this, I want to record this, to like being okay, this being like a memory.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think going off of what David was saying, like about like that hours alone thing. So like this past weekend, I was at Great Wolf Lodge, and it was the kids' first time at water park, and they were having a blast. And obviously, my instinct was I want to record everything. I want to take pictures of everything. But then at the same time, I didn't want to bring my phone into the water.
Yeah.
So I was forced to kind of like, I want to record this. I want to capture this. But at the same time, I don't want to risk like dropping my phone or whatever. So I was just kind of like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna enjoy it. Like, so when Lucas was going up and down the slide and he was like loving it and just seeing like his face like going down the slide, I just tried to like, okay, like I'm gonna enjoy this and I'm gonna try to like remember this as to the best of my abilities. And yeah, that memory is gonna be like ours alone. Because at the time also, Angie was hanging out with Ellie somewhere else, and it was like literally just like me and him and in that moment. And so once like our family kind of get back together again, I was telling Angie like, oh my god, it was the cutest thing. He did this, he did that, and it was like kind of nice that moment was only shared between myself and my son.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, there was a bit of a bittersweetness that I could not share that joy with my wife. But I think, to your point, like that hours alone moment was a really nice breath of fresh air, because it's not something that I get to experience often, because we're so glued to our phone and I want to record everything and like whatever.
I think the most beautiful things are fleeting. I mean, even our lives here on Earth, I think the relationships we make here, I mean, we kind of go into it knowing that in the physical form it's going to end, And sorry to say this, if it's not with Christians, it is going to end. Hey, is that a hot take? Well, I mean, that is what I believe. So, but so I think, I think there is something like beautiful about like you can never revisit it again, but like you were fully present in the moment. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I hate seeing videos that I took later and say, oh, like AZ was doing this, like oh, like dang, like it would have been so much better if I actually like focused and like saw what she was actually doing there. And I mean, there is a nice thing about like, oh, I get to like, at least I get to see it and experience it in video, but then you only get so much from that single angle video, So as much as it does preserve, I think it does distract as well. And those moments might be forever gone, not just
Dang. That's deep.
One last question, and specifically to you, Pastor John, as you are a pastor, how important is it? Because to preface, at Morning Man, we do talk a lot about like the physical things and like a lot really good things, right? But one thing that, and maybe this is because our kids are relatively young, we don't talk a whole lot about, is like biblically teaching our kids or biblically leading them. How early is, I mean, how much of it should we be doing as fathers, and how early should we be doing it?
It's good. I don't think it can ever be too early, even just because a lot of the process is not just them learning, but it's you learning to teach them. So when they're 6 months old, I think you can start teaching them. You're not gonna like give them a sermon with like a PowerPoint presentation, but you can read out loud, right? You can have conversations with your kids. I think that like kids' Bibles are a really good tool. They help. And so like as long as I can remember, we would do like one chapter of those a night. Now my kids are older, so we've been reading the real Bible. We went through it once so far, and we're going through it again, chapter by chapter.
That's awesome.
Which I mean, like we've skipped certain things. Like we didn't read every single gospel account. We didn't. If I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure I was like, okay, we're gonna decide to either do First and Second Kings or First and Second Chronicles. But
we're not gonna do both.
You know, like stuff like that. Skip some of the prophets, but for the most part, like just reading throughout. Every night except Sundays, we read one chapter a night. And now they're old enough to begin to ask questions and things like that. And then there are also other really good resources that, you know, I'd be willing to share if you guys want. And one of them is like Indescribable. It's like a book on creation, science, stuff like that, but with like a biblical perspective. But
is that the one Louis Giglio wrote?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, it must be, right, because it's called Indescribable. That's his jam. But I think it's our God-given duty to do so, right?
Yeah.
It's literally biblical for us to be the educators of our children.
Yeah.
And for us, like, we've taken it so far as to homeschool our kids, right? Like we and a lot of that has to do with being convicted while we were in Kansas City with our base director saying, like, if your kids are with their teachers for 8 hours a day and then they come home and you're with them for 2 hours before they have to go to bed, like whatever, like by the time they're 18, who's discipled your children? And so things like that have challenged us, right? And that's why we live the way we live. But what my greatest hope is that even into adulthood, if my children had a question about God or the things of God, that they would turn to me and Lydia before they turn to Google or before they turn to the world, right?
Yeah.
And like other teachers. And so I think that it is important to set that culture of like, this is a big part of who dad is.
Yeah.
Right. And not just as a pastor. I think like every dad is commissioned to do that.
Yeah.
And that's really one of the greatest ways to build that kingdom value, right? And so I mean, we haven't done it right all the time either. Like it's been extremely recent, like 2-3 weeks now, where even like within like the homeschool rhythm, like I'm doing a weekly like not sermon, it's like a little Bible presentation with my kids every Monday, right? So I'll create a little presentation on Canva with like animations and
that's so cute.
little Bible verses and biblical principles. And so I just want so what we're going through now is just like the greatest story ever, right? And so what does God's story of redemption look like from the beginning to the end, and what's our involvement in that? And even creating things like that, like you don't have to be a pastor to do that. You just have to know God, right? And know his word. And so for sure, I think it's very important, just as important as like learning to be present with them, putting our phones away, right? Like exercising in order to be available for them physically. I think if we don't become the safe space and the instinctive place to go to ask these kinds of questions, like it's not like they're not going to go to anyone.
Yeah.
And so if they have to go to someone, I'd rather it be me and my wife.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's so good. Yeah. I you know that book Indescribable? It's pretty advanced. But
yeah, it is. Yeah.
I've been reading that to Aisley.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and it's like sometimes it's like so hard because like their attention spans like, like oh, I want to go eat this, I want to do this.
Yeah.
But like last night, as Shirley was putting like the girls to sleep, she texts me, "Oh my gosh, Aisley is asking like, what does love mean?"
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
I like ran into the room and they're like, yeah, you know, like what like John says in First John, it's like laying down your life. So like, you know, like when you're willing to, like you love your sister so much that you're willing to like share your toys with her, like trying to like kind of get her to understand the principles of it.
Yeah.
Like it was like such a sweet moment that she yeah, like that whole, she felt like she could ask us. And then she's like, and then like we prayed about it, and then we said amen, and she goes, what does amen mean?
Yeah, see, that's
Yeah.
and she's at that age where she's going to begin to be curious about all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have the Jesus Storybook Bible.
We do.
That's
yeah.
a really good resource.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they have other Bibles as they get older too, but that one's really good because it's so like Jesus centric, right? Christ centric, and it helps point even the more familiar stories they might have heard or are hearing about now, like to Jesus, right? And so that's good. I mean, and then like little things like even just asking like, hey, what did you learn in Sunday school today? Oh, what do you think that means? And like just asking reflective questions is like a really good exercise too.
Yeah, I started this one thing where I have like I have a series of 4 questions I'll ask Aisley at dinner time. I mean, I ask it to Kaylin too, but she can't talk yet, so she's just nodding along. But I ask her like, how were you nice to somebody? How was somebody nice to you? How, like, what is one thing you tried really hard at? And the last question is, what were you thankful to Jesus about? So I'm trying to like get her to get into the rhythm of thinking about how am I going to answer these questions tonight? So like she's looking for opportunities to be nice. She's looking intentionally to like identify moments where someone's nice to her. And I like one thing that like I can see in her like now developing is, oh, I'm better at this than my sister, or like I'm the best one at this in my class. I want to quickly nip that in the bud, and I want to be like, hey, it's not about how good you are now. I would be more proud of you if you were the worst at this amongst all your friends, but you were the one trying the hardest. Like I'm more proud of you then if you were the best without trying at all. So like I wanted to keep thinking about like what are things that I can do really hard. It was funny the other day she goes, I tried really hard to take a nap.
That's so cute. Yeah.
And then, you know, like obviously with the what were you thankful to Jesus about? Just kind of getting her to understand like there are so many things to be thankful for, and like I want you to just kind of identify one thing.
Yeah,
so it's
that's
like
good.
some of the things she says is like really cute. I'm thankful that mommy came to pick me up early today, or like I'm thankful that I got to do taekwondo at school today. You know, so yeah, like it's so hard at this age to be. I don't know if this is right. Like substantive in the way that you can be with an adult in terms of like there are these two like post college kids. I guess guys, not kids anymore, like post-college guys that I'm discipling. And it's like, it's like those conversations are like, oh, like so encouraging. And like, I'm learning a lot through them too and stuff. But like, AZ's like, can Jesus lift up all the trees here? Yes, he can. But like, it's like,
Why, yes, he can.
Yeah, Jesus is so strong, he can do that. But yeah, so it's, I think there are moments of like, I wish it were more substantive, but like I am kind of telling myself, but if I don't get in the rhythm of doing this now while they're this age, then they're not going to want to talk to me about this stuff later on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think even at that age, it's just learning to appreciate even the little things, like the fact that Jesus is part of her worldview at all.
Yeah.
Like she's looking at the trees and she's like, dang, those trees are big. And then she's like, wait, but Jesus is like really strong.
Yeah.
Dad, do you think Jesus can lift those trees? Like even the fact that like Jesus even crosses her mind.
Yeah.
And there are plenty of people that grew up in the church that don't think of Jesus throughout the day until it's Sunday, right? And so I think like even just fostering that in and of itself, like, yeah, what else do you think Jesus can lift? You know, I think that's cool, especially at that age.
Yeah, that kind of stuff is cute. But I just started smiling because I was reminded of a quick story of Ellie, because she's also like asking about
How old is Ellie?
She's 4.
Okay.
So like one day she would ask me, "Appa, am I beautiful?" And I was like, "Yes, of course you are, Ellie." And then she's like, "Is Jesus beautiful?" And I was like, "Yes, Jesus is so beautiful." And then she's like, "Is Jesus more beautiful than me?" And I was like, I don't know how to biblically answer this question.
To be honest, yes.
Yeah, so I was like, you guys are both beautiful in different ways. But like, it's just funny that, and then she started getting upset because I was like hesitating. 'Cause I didn't know how to answer that. 'Cause I was like, I was like, I want her to know that yes, Jesus is beautiful, and like, but she's also beautiful. But I don't want to like compare the two. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's funny when they ask those kind of questions.
Get yourself out of the center of your life. Yeah, that's so cute. I think we have so much to learn from kids, even in that sense, right?
Yeah.
Of like the wonder of Jesus, and yeah, it's like genuine curiosity about him, right? And I think when we become adults, like it's easy to kind of feel like we know enough, you know?
Yeah.
And we're only like seeking like the deep stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that there is such value to something as simple as like looking at the stars and going like, dang, like he made that, you know?
Yeah.
And like,
The other day, we were driving down McGinnis Ferry, and then when you pass a PIB, there's this moment where you're kind of like a little bit going downhill, so you can see like a lot of the sky, and there was like a really like pretty like red sunset, and Aisley like randomly was like, "Oh, thank you, Jesus," and we're like,
dang,
we had no idea. We're like, what do you mean? Like, what do you? And she goes, because of the beautiful sunset.
wow.
And I was like, oh my gosh, like she's putting me to shame, you know,
that's
like
amazing.
she's like, even in those things, she's thinking about Jesus. So yeah, it is so cute. There is so much we can learn from
precious.
that.
Yeah, and I think that speaks volumes to like you guys are doing well as parents. Hey David, you're doing a great job as a father.
Thank you.
You know, yeah.
That word of encouragement is gonna take me.
That's why you invited us.
Yeah,
Right?
But like to give you guys some credit too, right? Like I think that's exactly how God designed family to be, and I think it's really cool that like you're beginning to be able to not necessarily reap the benefits, but like kind of get like glimpses of like your what you've sown beginning to like bear fruit.
right.
So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think as fathers, I'm glad that we get to do this together. Specifically, you guys. You know, it would be kind of what we were talking about earlier. It would be lonely doing it by myself.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that. I mean, and to everybody listening, I'm not just pointing at these guys. You know, all the other fathers in my life. I'm glad we get to walk together. And yeah, we get to encourage each other and all that. And I know we're meeting at 6 a.m. tomorrow, so I don't want to keep you guys any longer.
I mean, I brought a sleeping bag. Just sleep over here. Right?
Hey,
The basement's open.
it's carpeted. That's good enough for me.
Any kind of parting thoughts, maybe specifically to encourage other like Christian dads?
I do. Okay. But I want to ask it in the form of a question first, and hopefully it won't take too long, but it's a genuine question of mine. So I'm going to just take it back very briefly to my time in Kansas City. So in Kansas City, there was like a group of like 6-7 families that all like Korean American, all dads had ministry backgrounds, like, but we were all in close proximity and community with one another, right? And so we would set these rhythms where like the moms would go hang and the dads would go hang. But I found that when like the dads go hang, the moms like take care of the kids, right? But then when the moms go hang, all the dads get together with all the kids, right? And so for me, that's natural but I'm also an extrovert, and I feel like both of you are introverts. Is that correct? Yeah. And so like as introverts, but like as dads, is that something that you would think of doing, or would you just like rather take care of your kids at home? If your wives were gonna hang, would you be like, yo, what are you doing while Shirley's out? Like, can I come over? You want to come over? You know, like
it's the latter for me. Like all of our church dads that I hang out with, we're all introverted. Actually, I think you're like the first extroverted dad that I know.
Wow.
But so when the dads go do something, the moms actually call together and then they
That's
hang
so
out.
funny.
But then when the dads are home
Okay.
alone, we don't even think about calling each other. We just do our own thing. Yeah.
Okay.
I would like to.
Uh-huh.
So there's twofold. One is the people Shirley hangs out with, a lot of the times they're not married or they don't have
okay.
kids yet. Kind of double-edged sword. Like when we go on vacation, when we go with friends, it's like 8 built-in babysitters.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Awesome, yeah. So there's not really anybody by default I can call. So that's one. The other thing is there is this like invisible pressure of, well, if my wife can do it, like, am I
Interesting. Yeah.
worthy of doing it differently?
Okay.
Kind of thing.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel almost guilty doing that. Because it would be like, even though I'm an introvert, it would be nice to be able to kind of corral all the kids
Right,
together and socialize and do it together, right? But there is a unspoken kind of judgment that I feel like I would receive.
Man, that's so interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I think for me, it's also a bit of pride. Like, oh, I can handle these 2 kids on my own. Like, I don't need help. I got it. Like, there's a bit of pride in that for me as well.
No, I mean 100%. I know I can handle
Yeah.
my 4 kids on my own, but I'm like,
Well, 4 is a lot.
but what? I mean, yeah, but it's not like they appeared out of nowhere. You know, like it was a process of stretching.
Oh, is that
and
how
growing.
it works?
Hey, not for everyone, I guess.
yeah, true.
But like at the end of the day, for me, I'm always trying to maximize time with people because I'm extroverted, but also like it is easier. It's easier when there's like other kids in the picture, typically. And so like I was just it's very interesting. I think you guys are the first dads I know that don't do that. Or I mean, I guess, but it's also just like outside of the general area where community, like we're so hyper focused on like being together and being community.
But don't get me wrong. If I had the opportunity, I would definitely. Yeah. If Shirley ever hangs out with Lydia, I'm calling you for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Sounds good. Yeah, and like so Josh and I, we do that a lot, right? My brother and I. But yeah, if I could give like dad's advice, I think I would say, like, yeah, try to get together, like we're doing now.
Yeah.
And if it helps, like, send your wives to go hang with some other wives, right? Like, let some moms go hang and be like, dude, I'll take the kids. And they'll be like, what the heck's wrong with you, right? But then, like, do it and get together, meet in someone's house, throw all the kids in a room with a few knives. No, I'm just kidding, right? Like, just throw all the kids in a room and, like, hang out with other dads. I think dads in particular, they were meant to be like communal beings too, though, right? Like, I don't know, like that's just how I feel. But then I know I'm very strongly biased by my extroverted personality.
Yeah, you are extra extroverted.
I am. I really am. Yeah.
And I think me and Joojin both are kind of more on the severe side of introvert.
Yes. Yes. That's why I needed to throw that question out, because I was curious to hear, because I have tons of introverted friends, but I think like on that spectrum, you guys are a lot more introverted than most of like the people that I'm usually around.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, that's a good piece of advice. Anything for you?
I mean, I guess on similar note, I mean, even as a extreme introvert, the community of other dads that I get to do life with is like has been really awesome, because even like I guess before Morning Man, if you rewinded my life to 2 years ago, Angie would always be like, go hang out with other dads, like can you please like go make friends, like go make friends with other dads. Every like when she talks to other wives and other moms, they're all saying the same thing. My husband just stays at home, like he never wants to go out hang out. And then so and then so yeah, and I was like one of those guys, and so but once I started like doing the morning man with these guys, I realized the value of community, but also like having that relationship and brotherhood and just doing life together. Because I mean, yeah, I consider Angie, my wife, my best friend, and we can talk about a lot of things, but there's just some things that resonate better with other brothers,
sure.
as fathers or as husbands, stuff that you just can't talk about with your wife, or at a meaningful level. So personally, even as an extreme introvert, like this has been incredibly rewarding for me. Again, like for me to for me to bless them and for them to bless me and rebuke and vice versa, and all of that has been really helpful. But yeah, not only just in the context of like these Christ-centered discussions or intentional discussion, but also just like have fun. Like tomorrow I'm gonna also go hang out with some other dads to like play some tennis, but it's like, and we're not going with this intention of like having a fruitful discussion about life and fatherhood, but just to kind of hang out and just do life together. And honestly, like, yeah, if you told me 2 years ago, Joojin, like, yo, you're gonna have a weekend of vacation and you're gonna have all these social events lined up Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday for like church, like I would not have believed you, because I'm such an introvert. Like, and after vacation, I would need to like shut down and just not do anything. But like, yeah, the fact that I had all these like social events like lined up on my calendar was like, even I was like,
Yeah.
like I've come so like far, like I'm who am I?
Wow.
But yeah, it's because I appreciate it, and I think it's definitely needed even for an introvert like myself.
It's awesome.
It's worth investing that energy too, because for me, I don't know about you, but for me this is like tiring. It's tiring, but I know it's worth it.
Thanks, guys.
For the energy.
I'm sucking all your guys.
But I know it's worth it, and I know that it's an investment, and so that's why I'm here and all that.
Yeah. No, I think echoing that. I guess echoing both of you guys, the community of other brothers, especially like godly, Christ following brothers who are kind of in similar life stage. And honestly, even if it's not similar, I mean, like technically your life stage is way more advanced than me because you have more kids, your kids are older. Even with Joe, his kids are older. Like I mean, I would even argue there's maybe even more value in knowing you guys, because there is kind of the natural, like, who do I go to when I need advice for something like this? Oh, these guys already went through it. So I mean, not to say that that's more, I guess it's differently valuable.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, so if just having any sort of community of God believing, Christ following fathers, it's, I think, very, and kind of tying it back to my original point, in a world where, I don't know if I'm heartbreaking. in a world where fathers, sometimes I'm not saying all the time, sometimes might be underappreciated. Like, I think it's doubly important to have people that you can walk with, so that we can kind of rebuking, I think, is a big part of it, but I think encouraging is as important. Like I do. There are a lot of times I need to hear, "Oh yeah, David, you're doing a good job," like, because there are so many times that I feel inadequate as a father. Like, so many times I'm like, oh, well, I don't know what I'm doing, but to like be able to hear from you guys, oh, like, that's great. Like, oh, like you're doing great. Like, see, look at AZ. Like, that's great. Like, yeah, I think that does give me a push that I, it puts a little bit more fuel in the fuel tank. Yeah. So anyone listening out there, I'm going to title this episode probably something like, I hope fathers hear this. But so for you fathers, we encourage you, and we hope that you guys can find a community of brothers such as these to walk with, because it's much easier and more fulfilling when we do it together. Yeah,
It's awesome.
so this was a long one, and I'm gonna send these guys home so that we can see each other in 7.5 hours.
Yes.
So to all the listeners, thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll talk to you guys next time.
Bye.